In the ancient and scorching lands of Egypt, the sun beat down mercilessly upon the backs of the Hebrew slaves. For generations, the children of Israel had multiplied and grown strong in the fertile Nile Delta. Their numbers swelled so greatly that the land was filled with their laughter and their labor. However, a new pharaoh rose to the throne, a man whose heart was cold and who did not remember the legacy of Joseph. He looked upon the Hebrews with suspicion and fear, seeing them not as assets, but as a growing threat. The king spoke to his advisors, warning that the Israelites were becoming too numerous and might join Egypt's enemies in war. To crush their spirits, the Egyptians enslaved the Hebrews and forced them into brutal, backbreaking labor. They built the supply cities of Pithom and Ramesses under the crack of the taskmaster's whip. Yet, the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread across the land. Dread filled the Egyptians, and they made the lives of the Israelites bitter with hard bondage in mortar and brick.
Keep your eyes down.
In the fields and under the monuments, the slaves worked without rest and without mercy. Pharaoh, desperate to stop their growth, issued a horrific command to his people.
My word is law.
He decreed that every son born to the Hebrews must be cast into the Nile River to drown.
Is my decree.
But he allowed the baby girls to live, hoping to assimilate them into Egyptian culture eventually. Amidst this terror, a man of the house of Levi named Amram married a woman named Jochebed. Jochebed conceived and bore a son, a baby boy of striking beauty and vitality. She looked into his innocent eyes and could not bear to obey the king's wicked command. For 3 agonizing months, she hid him within the shadows of her home, silencing his cries. When she could hide him no longer, she devised a desperate plan to save his life. She took an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with asphalt and pitch to make it waterproof. With trembling hands, she placed her beloved child inside the basket and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. The baby's older sister, Miriam, stood afar off to know what would be happening to him. The basket drifted gently among the tall papyrus, carried by the slow current of the Nile. It was then that the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river.
What if it is a trap?
Her maidens walked along the riverside, and the princess spotted the strange ark among the reeds. She sent her maid to fetch it, curiosity piqued by the woven vessel. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept with a heartbreaking sound.
She is very kind.
Compassion flooded her heart, and she said softly that this was one of the Hebrews' children. Miriam, seizing the moment, stepped forward and asked if she should call a nurse from the Hebrew women. Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and the maiden went and called the child's own mother. The princess commanded Jochebed to nurse the child for her and promised to pay her wages. Jochebed took her son home, her heart soaring with gratitude for this miraculous reprieve. The child grew strong, and in time, she brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter. He became her son, raised in the luxury of the palace, and she called his name Moses. She named him thus because she had drawn him out of the water. Years passed, and Moses grew into a man, educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Yet he could not ignore the blood that ran in his veins or the suffering of his kin. One day, he went out to his brethren and looked upon their burdens with heavy eyes. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own brethren, and rage ignited within him.
You deserve worse.
He looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian. Moses hid the body in the sand, thinking his deed was a secret known only to him. However, the next day he went out and saw two Hebrew men fighting together. He tried to intervene, asking the one who did the wrong why he struck his companion. The man retorted angrily, asking who made Moses a prince and a judge over them. He asked if Moses intended to kill him just as he had killed the Egyptian the day before. Fear gripped Moses as he realized his violent act was known and reached the ears of Pharaoh. Pharaoh sought to kill Moses, forcing him to flee from the face of the king.
I am grateful for your kindness.
Moses escaped to the land of Midian and sat down by a well, a stranger in a strange land. There, he protected the daughters of the priest of Midian from shepherds who tried to drive them away. He watered their flock, and in gratitude, the priest Reuel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She bore him a son named Gershom, for Moses said he had been a stranger in a foreign land. 40 years passed in the quiet desert, and the old king of Egypt died. Yet the children of Israel sighed because of the bondage, and they cried out in anguish. Their cry came up to God because of the bondage, and God heard their groaning. God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, near Horeb, the mountain of God. Suddenly, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. Moses looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Intrigued, Moses turned aside to see this great sight and understand why the bush did not burn. God called to him from the midst of the bush, saying, "Moses, Moses." Moses answered, "Here I am," trembling at the divine voice. God commanded him not to draw near and to take his sandals off his feet.
On holy ground.
The ground he stood upon was holy, sanctified by the presence of the Almighty. God declared he was the God of his father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God.
For the place where you are standing is holy.
The Lord said he had surely seen the oppression of his people in Egypt.
I am unworthy and slow of.
He had heard their cry and knew their sorrows intimately. God announced he would deliver them and bring them to a
and bring the
land
children
flowing
of
with
Israel
milk
out
and
of
honey.
Egypt.
He commanded Moses to go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt. Moses, filled with self-doubt, asked God who he was to undertake such a massive task. God promised to be with him, giving him a sign that he would serve God on this very mountain. Moses asked for God's name, so he could tell the Israelites who had sent him. God said to Moses, "I am who I am," declaring his eternal and self-existent nature. Still, Moses worried that the people would not believe him or listen to his voice. God
Let
gave
my
him
people
signs,
go,
turning his
Pharaoh.
rod into a
They
serpent
must
and
journey
making his
into the
hand
wilderness
leprous
to worship
and then
their
whole.
God.
Moses pleaded that he was not eloquent and was slow of speech and slow of tongue. The Lord's anger was kindled, but he appointed Aaron, Moses' brother, to be his spokesman.
Watering the clay.
Moses took his wife and sons, returned to Egypt, and met Aaron in the wilderness. Together, they gathered the elders of Israel, and the people believed and bowed their heads in worship. Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let my people go." Pharaoh arrogantly replied, asking who the Lord was that he should obey his voice. He refused to let Israel go and instead increased their burdens, taking away their straw. The people groaned under the new hardship and blamed Moses for making them abhorrent to Pharaoh. Moses cried out to the Lord, asking why he had sent him only to see the people suffer more. God reassured Moses that Pharaoh would be forced to let them go by a strong hand. The contest between the God of Israel and the gods of Egypt began with a series of miraculous signs. Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and it became a serpent.
Itchy! Get them off!
Pharaoh's magicians did the same with their enchantments, but Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he refused to heed the warning. God then turned the waters of the Nile into blood, killing the fish and creating a foul stench. The Egyptians dug around the river for water to drink, but Pharaoh would not yield. Next, God sent a plague of frogs that covered the land, entering houses and bedchambers. Pharaoh pleaded for relief, but once the frogs died, he hardened his heart again. The dust of the earth was turned into lice, striking man and beast throughout all Egypt. Even the magicians confessed to Pharaoh that this was the finger of God. Swarms of flies corrupted the land. Yet the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was spared. Pharaoh bargained falsely, promising to let them go, but reneged once the flies were removed. A severe pestilence struck the livestock of Egypt, killing
Yes.
horses,
The
donkeys,
children are enjoying
camels,
it
and sheep.
immensely.
Not one of the livestock of the children of Israel died, yet Pharaoh's heart remained stubborn. Moses and Aaron scattered ashes toward heaven, causing painful boils on people and animals. Then came thunder and hail, and fire mingled with the hail destroying the herbs and trees. Pharaoh confessed he had sinned, but as soon as the rain ceased, he sinned yet more. Locusts covered the face of the earth, eating every green thing the hail had left behind. A thick darkness that could be felt settled over Egypt for 3 days, paralyzing the Egyptians. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Pharaoh
Make
threatened
haste. They will
Moses
call
with
for us
death if he
any
ever saw
moment.
his face again.
Keep your sandals tight and your staff.
Moses replied ominously that he would never see Pharaoh's face again. God announced one final, terrible plague that would break the pride of Egypt forever. At midnight, the Lord would go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn would die. The Israelites were instructed to take a lamb without blemish and kill it at twilight. They were to take the blood
Leave
and
now.
strike
Just
it on the
leave my
2 side
sight.
posts and the upper doorpost. They were to eat the flesh that night, roasted with fire, with unleavened bread
Thank you.
and
May you
bitter
find
herbs.
peace.
They ate in haste, with belts on their waists, sandals on their feet, and staffs in hand. It was the Lord's Passover, a night of judgment and deliverance. At midnight, the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. From the firstborn of Pharaoh on his throne to the captive in the dungeon, death visited all. A great cry went up in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Pharaoh rose in the night, summoned Moses and Aaron, and told them to go. The Egyptians urged the people to leave quickly, fearing they would all be dead
Mobilize the
next.
troops immediately.
The Israelites left, 600,000 men on foot, besides children and a mixed multitude. They carried the bones of Joseph with them, fulfilling the ancient oath.
Why did you bring us here, Moses?
God did not lead them by the way of the Philistines, lest they see war and return to Egypt.
We told you this would happen.
Instead, God led the people around by way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. The Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way. By night, he appeared in a pillar of fire to give them light, so they could travel day and night. Pharaoh, regretting the loss of his slaves, mobilized his entire army to pursue them. 600 choice chariots and all the cavalry of Egypt thundered across the desert sands. The Israelites, camped by the sea, looked up and saw the Egyptians marching after them. Terror seized them, and they cried out to Moses, wishing they had died in Egypt. Moses stood firm and told the people to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them.
Beautiful here.
The pillar of cloud came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. It was a cloud and darkness to the one, but it gave light by night to the other.
We're doomed.
Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, obeying the command of God.
Closing. We're doomed.
The Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. The waters were divided, and the sea was made into dry land.
Come again upon them.
The children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground. The waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, blinded by fury. In the morning watch, the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians and troubled them. He took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. The Egyptians panicked, realizing the Lord was fighting for Israel against them. God said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea." Moses stretched out his hand, and the sea returned to its full depth as the morning appeared. The waters covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh. Not so much as one of them remained, washed away by the power of God. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. The people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses.